In Monday's video, Milo said, "The real misconception most people have is that Germany started World War II, and they invaded Poland for no reason and were not provoked. The reality is that Poland is who started World War II." I replied saying, "If you say so, David Hoggan." David Hoggan is a guy from the 1960s who was trying to argue that Britain and Poland conspired to start the Second World War, and that Germany was morally right to wage the most devastating war in human history. I've done videos addressing some of these points, including the one on the Hossbach Memorandum, which is the one I linked to Milo and said you'll have difficulty arguing against the Hossbach Memorandum. Fellow YouTuber AF Guides HD replied, "The Hossbach Memorandum does not prove at all that Germany started World War II, much less does it prove that Germany is culpable for the actions of the Chamberlain government or the Polish government. Even if we assume the conspiracy is true that Germany had a long plan for war with Poland, it doesn't negate the choices made by Chamberlain or his government, namely starting war against Germany." But he didn't start the war with Germany. Britain has guaranteed Polish independence. They are basically allied together, and Hitler knows this. Chamberlain had made it clear in March 1939 that Britain had guaranteed Polish independence. As the House is aware, certain consultations are now proceeding with other governments. In order to make perfectly clear the position of His Majesty's government in the meantime, before these consultations are concluded, I now have to inform the House that during that period, in the event of any action which clearly threatened Polish independence, and which the Polish government accordingly considered it vital to resist with their national forces, His Majesty's government would feel themselves bound at once to lend the Polish government all support in their power. They have given the Polish government an assurance to this effect. I may add that the French government have authorised me to make it plain that they stand in the same position in this matter as do His Majesty's government. But Hitler, gambling because his economy is cratering, invades Poland anyway, hoping that Britain would give in like they did with Czechoslovakia. In fact, it was Hitler's violation of the Munich Agreement and Kristallnacht that caused Chamberlain to change his mind and abandon the policy of appeasement. And I've been over this in the Who Saved Hitler, the Munich Crisis and the Oster Conspiracy 1938 video, and in the But Tick, the reason why Hitler started World War II makes no sense video. If you pay attention to what happens, you'll see that it was Germany who actually declared war on Britain. Germany invades Poland, and Britain says, "Are you sure? Because this means you'll be declaring war on us too." But Britain gets no response, and Chamberlain therefore informs the nation that Germany is at war with Britain. It was Germany who went to war with Britain, not the other way around.
I am speaking to you from the Cabinet Room at 10 Downing Street. This morning, the British ambassador in Berlin handed the German government a final note stating that unless we heard from them by 11 o'clock, that they were prepared at once to withdraw their troops from Poland, a state of war would exist between us. I have to tell you now that no such undertaking has been received, and that consequently this country is at war with Germany.
Note the phrasing. He's not saying Britain declares war on Germany, but that a state of war now exists between them because Germany invaded Poland, which means that she has started a war on Britain as well. This is not a declaration of war. This is an acknowledgement that war exists. There was no declaration of war from Britain. Germany invades Poland, which means she's now at war with Britain. Britain asks, "Are you sure?" and Germany doesn't respond. Therefore, a state of war now exists between those nations. So technically, Britain did not declare war on Germany. It just acknowledged that Germany had started a war with her. And Chamberlain doesn't want this war either.
You can imagine what a bitter blow it is to me that all my long struggle to win peace has failed. Yet I cannot believe that there is anything more or anything different that I could have done and that would have been more successful. Up to the very last, it would have been quite possible to have arranged a peaceful and honorable settlement between Germany and Poland. But Hitler would not have it. He had evidently made up his mind to attack Poland whatever happened.
But this evidence apparently isn't good enough. As Simon Newman said, if we accept that political adjustment to take account of changing power relationships is both necessary and desirable, then, as E.H. Carr has argued, the use or threatened use of force to maintain the status quo may be morally more culpable than the use or threatened use of force to alter it. This is the equivalent of those scumbag teachers who think that you fighting back against a bully means that you're worse than the bully. No. If the bully punches me and I punch them back, that's their own daft fault. If you don't want to get punched in the nose, don't start a fight. But for some bizarre reason, these idiot teachers think that the bullies should get a free rein over everyone else and that anyone who stands up to them is in the wrong. Well, no. I, as a human being, will stand up for myself and my interests. If you're a bully, or if you're threatening my life, then morally you're acting in an anti-human way. I am, therefore, morally right to fight back to protect my life, liberty and property, which includes my body, but also money and home. I can also come to the aid of my friends if you attack them, or threaten to attack them, because you're the one who's violating our right to live. You don't just get to walk around and expect everyone else to just roll over and become your slave. Other people, other humans, have volition and will stand against you. Therefore, if you don't want to get punched in the nose, don't start a fight. Don't violate the non-aggression principle, the NAP. So Hitler invades Poland after Czechoslovakia, violating the non-aggression principle, and thus is morally at fault. Therefore, since Britain and Poland are best buddies at this moment, and Britain has guaranteed Poland's independence, Chamberlain warns Germany that if she doesn't back down, a state of war will exist between them. Germany does not back down, and a state of war exists between them. Germany punches Poland, Britain steps in and starts punching back, and morally they are right to do so. Even if we accept the distinction between aggressive and defensive wars should be made, it is seldom possible in practice to do so with clear-cut precision. Well, there is a distinction, and it is clear-cut in this case. It is certainly arguable that German hegemony in Central and Southeastern Europe did not represent a threat to Britain's independence. But it did represent a threat to Polish independence. The bully wants to beat up several kids in the playground, some of whom are your friends. The bully isn't a direct threat to you, but you do have the moral right to step in since the non-aggression principle has been violated and your friends are in trouble. Plus, if the bully bullies these other people, what's to say that they won't be emboldened to bully you next? If you don't come to the aid of your friends now, they're unlikely to come to your aid later. So strategically, it makes sense to stop the bully now before things get out of hand. And I've actually been over all of this in the Why Britain Wouldn't Just Let Hitler Go East video. Halifax had to counter such thinking in the cabinet, and Cadogan always had his doubts. Good for them. In any case, even on the worst interpretation, the threat was only a contingent one and did not arise mechanically or necessarily from the mere fact of a shift in the European balance. In your opinion. But from Britain's perspective, as I've shown in the Why Britain Wouldn't Just Let Hitler Go East video, it doesn't make sense for Britain or France to allow Germany to take over Central or Eastern Europe. It represents a future threat to Britain and France's sovereignty. The same situation applied in the Napoleonic Wars. And some other people asked, why didn't England declare war on the USSR for the invasion of Poland? Again, I've explained this in the Why Britain Wouldn't Just Let Hitler Go East video. The National Socialist Soviet Pact came as a shock to the Western powers, so they simply weren't prepared for it. Britain had enough to deal with when it came to Germany. They couldn't fight the Soviet Union and Germany at the same time. It also is the case that Germany is more of an immediate threat to Britain and France than the Soviet Union is to them. And there's also a chance that Germany and the Soviet Union would end up at war together, which they did. So they didn't go to war with the Soviet Union for practical reasons. And I just want to end this video by pointing out that these people, these critics, have failed to see things from any other perspective other than their own, or Germany's. For whatever reason, they think that the world revolves around themselves, or revolves around Germany, and that other people and nations are not independent entities with their own thoughts and perspectives. It's the same as those who think that, because they're poor, they're morally correct to steal from the rich. No, you're not. And there are consequences to your actions. People will take action. They will respond to your aggression. And you're morally incorrect when viewed from the perspective of those other people. What's happening here is that they're viewing the world from a subjective point of view. Subjectively, they are morally right because it purely benefits themselves. But objectively, they are morally wrong because they fail to recognize that other people exist and that their actions violate the rights of those other people. This is the difference between hedonism, pure selfishness for the sake of pleasure, and rational selfishness, upholding the values required for human survival. It is in my own interest to stop the bully from hurting my friend because, by defending the value of human life, I benefit from that action. My friend survives, they're grateful to me, and I maintain the peace for my own sake and other people's. And if we all recognise that everyone else is ultimately out for themselves, not hedonistically but for their own survival, then we wouldn't take actions that hurt other people, because it's ultimately not in our own interests. Unfortunately, a lot of people just don't seem to fathom this concept. Thanks for watching, bye for now.